Well, today is August 19th. As you know, I'm going to be making up for some events that I haven't reviewed yet. For example, we're going to review the weekend from last weekend. We're talking about GCW's Homecoming, which was a pretty interesting event taking place. I'm very excited to review for all of that for all of you. But also, we cannot forget AEW Rampage and who's going to level up on NXT Level Up. But also, we got some interesting news updates that I'm willing to share what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with GCW's Homecoming Weekend Part 1 that took place on the 13th of August. Well, opened up with Nick Gage taking on the return of Starboy Charlie. Now, keep in mind, Starboy was out of action for a couple of months due to an injury he obtained at a local event in LA. It's great to see him back. I thought this match was pretty good. Like, we had the young boys kicking ass no matter what. I think that's really was fun. But it was Nick Wayne's Cloud Cutter that ended giving him the win. I thought it was pretty good. It was a good opener. Not gonna lie about it. Next up, we got Ninja Mac versus Young, Dumb, and Broke. Jordan Oliver, also a good match. I mean, as much as these two guys are talented wrestlers to enjoy watching, they tore it down. I love it. But it was Jordan Oliver who picked up the victory over Ninja Mac. Not going to complain. Good match as well. Next up, we got a scramble match. We got Grim Reaper versus Gringo Loco versus You're Fucking With the Different Boy, Jimmy Lloyd, Axton Ray, Joe Lando, and Marcus Mathers. Now, as any scramble match, we know how this is going to end. It's unpredictable. We don't know how it's going to end up with the winner. But in this case, it was Gringo Loco who picked up the victory by pinfall. And I thought it was interesting that he always ends up winning certain matches when it comes to scramble. Someone would have put him like on top of those who are the kings of the scramble matches. Next up, we got the one guy that everybody doesn't like. Well, he knows talented, but he's a piece of a-hole. We're talking about Tony Deppen taking on Blake Christian. This match was good because here's the way I see it. I mentioned this before. Tony Deppen, he's an a-hole, but he's talented. Blake Christian, talented, but now he's becoming a bit of an a-hole now. But I think we've got to clear our heads on this one. Who's the bigger a-hole? But Blake Christian won, and I think the fans did not like how he won. I missed it, but it was like, boo. Like, okay. And then he started going out with this long promo and all this other stuff, talking about his friends, his timing with WWE. We all can say WWE gave him the worst timing. But yeah, so not gonna lie about that. Next up, we got the GCW tag team titles on the line. We got the Briscoes, damn boys, taking on Los Macizos, Ciclope, and Miedo Extremo. This match was insane. I would have thought it would have been like a full-blown deathmatch type, but it did not. It had a little bit of the hardcore elements, but it was, of course, the Briscoes that walked out as the new GCW World Tag Team titles. But when you think things are getting good for the Briscoe brothers, all of a sudden we got people who bitch, complain, and moan about they should be getting those titles. Of course, we had a second gear crew, Matthew Justice and Mance Warner, pleading their case. And of course we had Macizos doing the same thing. But the Briscoe says, we don't give a shit who wants this title. We don't care if it's you two teams, or anybody else in the back. So basically that's what happened. But they mentioned this, that they want this match to take place at Art of War Games. But by the time this video is already out, it's already been revealed, there's going to be a 4-way match at the Art of War Games. And it was added. Bushi is now in the conversation. Yes, folks, you heard me right. Bushi is in the conversation. So it's going to be Bushi, Effie, and Alley Catch versus Macizos, Cyclops, Miedo Extremo versus Second Gear Crew, Matthew Justice and Mance Warner versus the champs, the Briscoes, Mark and Jay Briscoe. I thought it's going to be nuts. Now, our next match, we have the GCW Extreme Championship. Charlie Evans taking on Ratty Daddy Cole Radrick. I thought this match was good because I felt like Charlie Evans, who I hardly see every single time, fits the mold of like the whole death matching, but unfortunately she did not win this match. She got really pinned down by Cole Radrick. This was his first title defense, I believe, since he won this one in the scramble match. But he gave respect to Charlie Evans. But when we thought things were going great for her, that piece of garbage of no good, root of all evil, Charles Mason shows up. Keep in mind, Charles Mason hasn't forgotten the humiliation he got from Charlie Evans when she saved her boyfriend, Everett Connors. But now, he's getting his revenge. But luckily, Everett Connors shows up to save the day, but it was a bit too late. Next up, we got a death match. John Wayne Murdoch versus Mark Tremont. I thought this match was so insane. Now, keep in mind, John Wayne Murdoch, he's the guy who claims that GCW has changed his things, that he is the real effing deal. That's always been the case. But it was. John Wayne Murdoch won the match by pinfall, and that's how it ended. Now, our next match we have is the GCW Ultraviolet Championship. We got the Deathmatch Queen, Rina Yamashita, taking on Alex Colon. I thought this match was really ultraviolet. I loved it. But the one thing I did like is how Rina Yamashita did not give up, no matter how much good it's Alex Colon. I mean, Colon is always will be an awesome deathmatch wrestler that I've always watched. But Rina, she set the bar, and I did not anticipate her to win when she pulled off Alex Colon's submission move to win the match. I thought, wow, hands down, I give her credit for that. So she is now our brand new GCW Ultraviolet Champion. I wouldn't be surprised if she takes that title back to Japan and, of course, defends it. But keep in mind, GCW will be making a trip to Japan real soon. Now, our main event is the GCW World Champion, Effie, as the challenger, taking on the champion, Jon Moxley. I thought this match was very interesting because we know Effie. You know how he is. You know how he is in the ring when it comes to it. Moxley, he's not there to play. But Effie, you know him. He is totally in a different level of what he does in the ring with Moxley. But I think the one thing that sealed the deal is when Moxley gave him a smooch on the lips. And I think that kind of put him in a, like, what? And then he headbutted him, and then paradigm shift. It was over, retained the title. But however, when he was giving his promo, he was interrupted by Nick Gage. Now, Nick Gage, on the other hand, he wants a shot of Jon Moxley for what happened the last time, but he wants that title itself. But however, Moxley set up the stipulation: career versus title. And as you probably say, oh hell no. But knowing Nick Gage, he will not back down from that, even if you think that it's a career suicide. It doesn't matter, because it's MDK all effing day. So I think that's pretty much it with GCW. So let's move on with part 2 of that. Okay, GCW Homecoming Part 2. This one took place on the 14th of August. It opened up with the GCW Extreme title on the line in a scramble match. We have Cole Radrick versus Gringo Loco versus Axton Ray versus Alec Price versus Jimmy Lloyd versus Masha Slamovich. Now, I keep saying time and time again that in scramble matches, anything could happen. Now, as recently in the past, the previous champion, AJ Gray, was successful in defending his title in scramble matches, and now Roderick has inherited that from him. So basically, this is where he has to put himself through the test. He knows he doesn't have to be pinned, but somehow he was able to overcome by pinning Alec Price and retained his title. Now our next match, we have, of course, the debut of Maki Ito taking on the High Priestess, Dark Sheik. I thought this match was amazing because I enjoyed every moment of it, because there was a lot of talk about this, because if you guys know this or not, if you guys are GCW fans, you probably know what I'm talking about. But those who don't, GCW fan base can be a bit critical, you know, like, we don't know if they will accept the wrestler that doesn't fit their mold, which to me I respect. But Maki Ito received a nice warm reception by the fans, and I think she fits perfectly, you know, because come on, who doesn't love Maki Ito? And not to mention, she has a big ass head. So I think that's what makes Maki Ito great. But what I loved about this match is it was amazing. I love how Maki tried to do Kokeshi, but she readjusted. DDTs everywhere, but it was the final DDT move by Maki defeating Dark Sheik. And I thought it was a pretty good match. Even in the post-match, Maki Ito extended handshakes with Dark Sheik, and they even said one more time. And the best part is they got to leave together. And I thought it was amazing to see those two leave that way. Next up, we got Ninja Mac versus Kevin Blackwood. Now, keep in mind, you got a guy who does a lot of flippy stuff, which some people can say they need to stop with that crap. You know what I mean? And of course, you got a guy who has a bit of the submission style technique. But it was Ninja Mac that pulled off the Phoenix Splash in order to win the match. I thought it was awesome, a great styles that fits in perfectly. Now our next match, we have a trios match. We have Second Gear Crew, one called Manders, Matthew Justice, and Mance Warner taking on Nick Wayne, Jordan Oliver, and Blake Christian. Now, keep in mind, the previous night, Blake Christian, let's just say that he is now, some people are not feeling the love for him. Not that the match itself with the Second Gear Crew was pretty good. However, there was a moment where, of course, there was a botch, a moment where, of course, Blake Christian had Matthew Justice right where he wanted him, but Matthew Justice used him against him, and all this and that. So basically, it was a pretty good match. They were able to pin Nick Wayne, but in the process, they decided to extend their handshakes to Jordan Oliver and Nick Wayne. Now, Blake Christian was not having it. Oh yeah, in case you guys wondering, they were passing out beers, but Nick Wayne, he's still underage. So he had his water, so they respected. Okay, sorry kid, no beer for you. But however, it looks more like Blake Christian, he is still being a total dick from my understanding. So that's how it is. Both Nick and Jordan just walked out, just, you know, we're not dealing with you, dude, so you're on your own. That sort of thing. Next match, we got Starboy Charlie taking on Mike Bailey. I thought this match was pretty good. Now, keep in mind, Starboy Charlie made his return after being injured. I loved the match. It was pretty good. But unfortunately, Mike Bailey finished off Starboy Charlie with the Flamingo Drive, giving him the W. Next match, we have a very interesting match. We have Charlie Evans teaming up with her boyfriend, Everett Connors. They take on Bussy, Effie, and Alley Catch. I thought the match was pretty great. There was a moment where you see Charlie Evans and Alley making out. I'm like, and Everett's like, what the hell? It just makes me laugh. I'm like, dude, just enjoy the moment, you know, knowing that your girlfriend is kissing another girl. Don't you think you ever had the fantasy of it? I know every guy has a fantasy to see their girlfriend make out with another girl, but I thought it was great. But however, the match was interrupted with that piece of garbage, Charles Mason. As you know, he still has some unfinished business with Charlie Evans. Apparently, his match with her in GCW was not enough, so he once again decided to get his hands on him. But he got his ass whooped by all 4 members, and he got pinned, piled her. So basically, this thing, everybody won except for Charles Mason. And I just laughed so hard when that happened, because it's basically true. Nobody likes Charles Mason, so he had that coming. Oh my god, I love it. Now our next match, this is the first title defense for the GCW Ultraviolent Championship. As you know, Rina Yamashita won that match, that title from Alex Colon. Now she puts that title on the line against Sawyer Breck. Now, this is a pretty much of a brutal match to see. Not because it's a woman's match, because this is a death match with the title on it. And I think that tells us all. But it was, of course, a all the kind of blunder that was used in this type of match. It could bloody murder, that sort of thing. But that's what makes it unique. But it was Rina Yamashita with the Phoenix Bomb that ended it and retained the title. Now our next match we have is a tag team death match. We got the very unlikely duo, John Wayne Murdoch versus Alex Colon. Now let me pause here for a second. These two guys hate each other. Alex Colon felt, since he came to GCW, he's the guy who runs the show. John Wayne Murdoch, he hasn't been with this company for 2 years. He feels like everything is changed, all for the worse. So that sort of thing, and that kind of tells us the whole thing. But the real obvious question, can they coexist against a cohesive tag team like Los Macizos, the former GCW tag team champions? That is another question that's being spread upon. And I think that tells us a lot. But however, Alex Colon knows, okay, I don't like this prick, so I have to do what I can to get the win. I think that's what matters to him. I mean, it's like this. You don't have to like the guy. You don't have to be friends. But you need him for the win. That's all that matters. And that's exactly what he did when he did the clutch, and it was over right there. So it gave Murdoch and Colon the win. Now, I know I'm betting shit, but this does not end here. As you know, ever since Matt Cardona made his way to GCW, he claims that he elevated GCW. Nobody wants him there. So he decided to put out a wedding vows celebration with Maven doing the ordaining. I can tell you this. The party was crashed by none other than MDK himself, Nick Wayne, ruining the entire party. I thought it was classic. I'm sure every fan who hates Matt Cardona are happy that your wedding got ruined. Don't people know that this type of thing doesn't work out? Well, except what we saw at NXT with Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell, that sort of thing. But that was different. But this is now. And I did say someone's going to mess things up, but for the best cause. And it had to be Nick Wayne. Of course. This is his house. Don't bring that shit into his house. That's the last thing I think Nick Wayne wanted. But Matt Cardona brought this mess, so sorry. So I think that's pretty much it with GCW. I say it's time to move on with AEW Rampage. Alright, AEW Rampage, it was amazing. It opened up with Claudio Castelloni being with Wheeler Yuta. He was talking, doing his little promo. He decided to set up an open challenge for the Ring of Honor World title. None of us saw this coming. Dustin Rhodes answered the challenge. But I think this one is going to be a very special match for all of us. Because here's the thing. We've known Dustin Rhodes for many years, for decades. I remember when he was Goldust. But we all could agree one thing about him. the dude never had a world title opportunity. And that's always been like, what the fuck? That sort of thing. You know what I mean? That's what makes it so great. That this guy didn't have that. We saw Claudio. He was in that same predicament as well. But now, look at him now. He is the current Ring of Honor World Champion. So, he didn't accept the match because he felt pity for him. He accepted accepted it, realizing, yes, you and I, we came from the same background. We never had those opportunities, and I can see that. And I think that's what makes it great, and I can't wait for it to happen. Now, our next thing we have is an interview. The war is not over with Sammy and Ty Conti. As you know, Ruby Soho still has her issues towards her, but apparently she and, of course, Ortiz, they are setting themselves out to be like rabid pit bulls who want to kill those two. So we don't know when that day will happen, but it will happen. Now, our opening match is for the AEW World Tag Team titles. Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn, ordered by Andrade El Idolo to obtain these titles to take on Swerve in Our Glory. Now, keep in mind, this is not the first time Private Party had come across Keith Lee. As you remember, he decimated them since his arrival. And I think that kind of tells us that, you know, they may have learned certain things, but it was, of course, Swerve that finished off Isaiah with the JML driver, and right there. But it showed, but in the end, I did not expect this coming from them. Swerve in Our Glory gave their respects to Private Party, that they hang in there. I think they might have changed a little bit of their game, a bit of what they can do. And I think that tells us, okay, maybe we can see them win good matches somewhere down the line. But right now, Swerve in Our Glory retain the titles. Now, we do have a little interesting interview coming up that happened with QT Marshall in the factory. Now, as you guys remember, Powerhouse Hobbs was not a happy camper for what happened last time. QT and the rest of the factory has failed to get rid of Ricky Starks. However, Hobbs confronted him, but QT said, look, we know we screwed up. We know we didn't get it, but it's not going to be over until it says it's over. So Powerhouse Hobbs like, okay, you better keep your word or else. That sort of thing. So basically, he made it say QT may have saved his own ass just to reassure him that. Now, our next match is a championship. The first title defense by Hook, the FTW title. He defends it against Zackling, you know, from the Jersey Shore. JWoww's boyfriend, husband, whatever. Anyway, I thought it was crazy, but I figured it was going to end quicker because it's Hook. You know what I mean? Come on. If you're a Hook fan, you guys know what I'm talking about. He's going to kill him. So he put him in Red Rum and it was over. So, good night. Now, speaking of Hook, it looks like, I don't know what these two guys are thinking. I don't know what Jericho would say. I'm sure he will be happy. But the obvious thing is, can they pull it? It appears that Menard says that the FTW title should belong to the Jericho Appreciation Society. Well, we'll see what happens, because I hate to say this, Jericho, you better not be pissed off with these guys, because you know Hook, he is not the kind of guy you don't want to mess with. Now, our next interview, Billy Gunn, as you know, we saw what happened at Rampage on Dynamite on House of the Dragons. His sons betrayed him, and they joined that piece of garbage, Stokey Hathaway. So it kind of went into that direction, but luckily he has some friends, and that is the Acclaim. So this is very gonna be interesting, what these developments. Now, our next match, we have Buddy Matthews along with Julia Hart representing the House of Black, taking on Serpentico. Now, you probably can guess this match is over by Buddy Matthews. But the thing is, the biggest thing that took place was the arrival of Miro. He had Malachi Black's mask. We don't know what happened. Like, what just happened to Malachi? And then Buddy Matthews got his ass whooped, And of course, Miro says, "Where's the pagans? Where's the pagans?" And he super kicked them right in the face. So this is a direct message to the House of Black, but most specifically, Malachi Black. Now, ever since Thunderstorm has made headways, it appears that Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel, they believe that this thing between them is toxic. Like, they think they're politically correct. And I think that tells us, okay, you act like you think you're right about everything, but what makes you so certain that about this match? So that kind of goes in a different way, because Toni Storm not too long ago was the #1 contender to face Thunder Rosa. So they think they're just going to watch Thunderstorm fall apart. We don't know that. All we got to do is wait and see what happens in All Out. I hate to see that if either Thunder Rosa wins, it just, it will be the same thing. But what happens if Toni Storm wins? Well, we'll see. So we'll find out. Now, our next match, we have Penelope Ford making her Rampage a debut, or a re-debut, whatever you want to call it, take on Athena. I thought the match was pretty good, but Athena ended it with the Eclipse. But unfortunately, she was attacked by the baddies, Layla Gray and Kiera Hogan. But of course, Jade Cargill had the audacity to destroy her wings, all thanks to Stokely Hathaway bringing a sledgehammer, wiping it out, and then she used it onto Athena. As you know, Jade Cargill is scared. That's the reason she did it. She will never admit that she's scared. Stokely Hathaway knows it, but the obvious question is this beatdown going to be enough? We'll see about that. Now, our main event is still the first round of the AEW World Trios Tournament. We have the Trustbusters, Ari Daivari, Slim J, Parker Boudreaux, taking on the best friends, Chuck and Trent, along with Orange Cassidy. This match was, of course, very calculated. Of course, there were certain moments that were pretty funny. However, things would have gone the Trustbusters' way if it wasn't for very nice, very evil Danhausen. He cursed Slim J. Slim J's like, "What the hell is this?" He's, "You're cursed." And he was cursed. He got his ass whooped. But the most interesting is what the best friends and Orange Cassidy did. They did a very interesting finisher. I don't know what to call it. I mean, both Chuck and Trent had Slim right where they want him. Cassidy just got on top of them, and then once that happened, he just splashed right on top of them. I'm like, wow, that was impressive. So I think it was a pretty good show. I think I liked certain things that took place. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen next week. But right now, I say let's move on to our final review. Let's see who levels up on NXT Level Up. Okay, like I said before, who levels up on NXT Level Up? Our first match, we have Dante Chen taking on Javier Bernal. Now, keep in mind, Bernal has been on a different mean streak recently, has changed his own dynamics. But the obvious question is, can Dante overcome it? I think that says it a lot. But I think the obviously what was happening is how this thing had changed, I was impressed by Dante, what he can do. He was able to overcome it and pin Bernal. This is a good win for him. Now, I know Bernal has been struggling from the very beginning, but, there's no shame in losing unless you want to pick a fight against Dante Chen. That tells it all. Now, our main event later on, we have is Axiom versus Xia Quinn. Now, Axiom, on the other hand, the obvious question that he was being told during his interview, how can he overcome a guy like Xia Quinn? So he did the math, and he called Kelly that she's a genius. She has no clue what she just did, so I thought it was pretty funny. Now, our next match, we have Ariana Grace. Now, Ariana Grace comes out saying that she did what she did, that everybody in the talk of the town is talking about her. But the one thing she has to deal with is the Diamond Mine Pitbull Ivy now. I thought this was like, okay, Ariana, you may have gotten away with their help, but the obvious question is, can you think you can take on this impressive woman who we all know she can be the NXT Women's Champion? That is something we can see. Now, it's been a while since we've seen her in NXT Level Up and in singles competition, but there's nothing wrong with that. But I love how this whole thing unfolds. Ariana ended up with the Dragon Sleeper. This was a pretty good match. I don't know if Ariana might have put it through the test, but it was able to win. I hate to say Ariana, I really hope Ariana doesn't complain too much, knowing that she's like, I had this match, it was unfair, that sort of thing. But we'll see. Now, our main event, we have Axiom taking on Xia Quinn. I thought this is another case of David versus Goliath, and I think that says a lot, because Axiom, he's a math genius in his own right, from what he says. But the obvious is, the only thing that he needed to do is find the right opening, in which he did. He found the right opening. He was able to overcome the match by super kicking Xia Quinn. I think Xia Quinn was livid after he realized he lost his Axiom. This is the same kind of similar situation that happened with him with Wesley, but now it's Axiom's turn. So I thought it was pretty interesting, and I think it was pretty good. So I think that's pretty much it with Level Up. I believe it's time for some news updates. Okay, for our news updates, first things first, we want to say congratulations to Okada and his wife for the birth of their baby boy. Don't know his name, but let's call him Baby Okada. So yeah, we did not know about this. This was announced right after the G1 was over. I'm like, oh, okay. But of course, there's been talk that Okada is thinking about taking some maternity leave to be with his wife and maybe help her out with the baby, which is okay. He probably won't take that long, as you know, he is the winner for the G1, and we know that from here on out all the way to Wrestle Kingdom, he'll be challenged for the briefcase. So we'll see what happens then. Now, we haven't heard anything recently from former WWE superstar, everyone's favorite shining wizard, Tegan Nox, also known as Nixon Newell. There are those who recently have commented about that she retired. The answer to that is no. Now, some of you question another thing. How come we haven't seen her in AEW or Impact Wrestling? Well, it was reported that the reason we haven't seen her wrestle, she needs to get she's having problems with her visa and also a green card. You see, if you want to work here, she's not originally here from the States. She's from Wales, I think. So basically, she's been having issues for that. So she's trying to get that over, straightened out. But she never mentioned anything about if she's planning to go back with WWE. As you know, Triple H has been recruiting some of the people that were loyal to him. We don't know anything about that yet. But she did say that she has goals in mind to wrestle the women who are not currently with WWE. I think that's one goal, but it's still unclear yet. But all we can do is wait and see and hope for the best for her to get back in the ring. Now, I mentioned this about Pro Wrestling Noah. As you know, KG Muta will be retiring. However, his character, the Great Muta, will be having his final match next month. However, it will be in a tag match. Now, nobody knows who is his tag team partner. But first things first, his match will take place in Osaka, Japan. Some of you are saying, why Osaka, Japan? Obvious reasons. That's where the Great Muta was born. And it's going to take place on the 3rd of September. And I'm excited. I'm sure everybody else. But the real question is, who is his partner? Well, to my shocking surprise, it's the Great Okan. Yeah. Great Okan is going to be teaming with the Great Muta, and I don't know who their opponent is, so we'll find out soon enough. Now, the last episode when I did the news updates, we talked about NXT UK. Wrestling Observer's reporting about Jinny. As you know, Jinny, we haven't seen her wrestle for some time. She has done some interviews for BT Sports down there in the UK. Well, it turns out that she is going to be moving to the States on brand terms, as you know, because it's now been confirmed that NXT UK will be shutting down. So she'll be working with WWE. It's still unclear whether she'll be wrestling or what. There is still no talk about that, but we'll see when that happens. Now, our next update, as you know, I've been talking about Prestige Wrestling's upcoming event that takes place on Halloween, Roseland 4. It was announced that Deonna Purrazzo will be making her debut on that very particular day, so I'm kind of excited to see what she's going to do. Next up, this one was reported by Fightful Select. It was revealed that 2.0, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker has signed an extension on their contracts with AEW, so it's still unclear about what was that about, but it looks like they're going to be sticking around for a little while. Next up, now, for all you Yoshi Wrestling fans out there, I mentioned this, that Jungle Kiona will be making an appearance on Deadlock Pro Wrestling. She's already scheduled for 2 matches. Well, as you know, the second match that was announced in September, in September, she hasn't announced for any opponent. However, her opponent is none other than Maya Yukihi. If you guys aren't familiarized with Maya Yukihi, you may have seen her in Ice Ribbon. She's currently one of the heads of the Nomads company, the Freelance Summit. This is the first time these two have ever faced off each other. Now, for those who don't know, certain Yoshi wrestlers, they may have been aware of certain other Yoshi wrestlers from other promotions. This is the first time they will be confronting each other, but it will not be taking place in a Japanese ring. It will happen in the U.S. Now, Maya Yukihi, if you guys know this or not, I remembered an article that I read that she would like to come to the States, but she specifically said that she would like to wrestle for AEW. Now, you know how Tony Khan is. We don't know for sure if that ever happened, but she does speak perfect English. She has a degree in biolinguistics. She speaks English, Korean, and some other languages. But she'll be fine. But don't know much about her her bookings. We do know if this is going to be her first time being here in the States, hopefully there'll be more to come with her. As you know, her partner from the Nomads brand, Miyuki Takase, even made an appearance in this promotion, taking on Miyu Yamashita. So that's going to be a very interesting development. But right now, seeing Jungle Kiona versus Miyuki, this is the first time ever. They never crossed paths with each other. First time ever. Now, our last thing, you guys may have heard what happened with Stardom. Kyrie has been pulled from the upcoming event on the 21st, since today is the 19th. This video will be uploaded the following day on the 20th. There was talk about what's going to happen for the white belt match. Well, it turns out they found a replacement, and that replacement is none other than Himeka from DDM. This is going to be an interesting matchup, interesting challenge to see. So basically, I'm kind of curious where they're going to go with this one. So we'll see. I think that's pretty much it right now. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, the weekend is going to be a little bit interesting. I am going to review the latest GCW event. Certain events that I'm going to definitely be able to see that I haven't reviewed yet, like All Japan Pro Wrestling. Right now, as we speak, since today is the 19th, over there in Japan it's the 20th. We have, of course, more on the 5-star Grand Prix by Stardom, and not to mention, we cannot forget DDT's Wrestle Peter Pan, which is one of their big event in DDT, their version of WrestleMania, to be exact. But Don't know for sure I'll be able to see it, but we'll see what happens. So I'm gonna wing it on the next episode. Let's leave it at that. Let's wing it, you know, like that. So I think that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.